Hi. 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 I'm Snappy ASMR. How you doing? How you doing? Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Good. I'm gonna just adjust you real quick. Okay. So, sorry, it's been a few days. I was in Spain. I was in Spain. And I just thought I would kind of ramble about that trip, if you don't mind, while also, doing my typical snapping, all that good stuff. So, if that's what you're into, get ready. So, I went to Spain. I've never been. I also didn't take Spanish in school, so my Spanish is very slight. I don't know a lot. I did my best to learn a little bit before I left, and that was enough to get through most conversations because, most of the time you're just ordering food, so the context is usually there. And also, Europe is much better at learning other languages than America, so most people spoke enough English to also make it work. So it was fine. It was fine. But the main reason I went there, this is the interesting part. This is the hook. To pull you in. The main reason I went to Spain was to ride horses. If you don't know this about me, I love horses. I love them. I grew up riding, but unfortunately that's just not a part of my life anymore. So I really wanted to take a vacation where I could just go do that and ride in some very interesting new spaces. So me and my sister, who also used to ride with me, we went to the south of Spain. The south. We went to the south of Spain, and that was where we rode. I guess. So I brought my little journal that I took notes in. I always do like the hedgehog with the mushrooms. I always journal when I travel, not very well, not very detailed. It just kind of helps you remember people's names and where I went. And I try and also record my thoughts. Like, I really liked this part, or this was really funny. That's what I mostly... It smelled strange. That's what I mostly do. So, and every time I travel and I journal, I always start off very descriptive and poetic, kind of. And then towards the end, I'm like, this is what we did today. We ate this, and this is where we went. Like, I just get so sick of it by the end. I'm not much of a journaler. I don't journal my day-to-day. Do you? Do you do that? I think that's a really important skill that I just don't do. I don't keep diaries or anything. So I'm going to use this as kind of like a reference. I'm trying to find balance. I'm obviously very protective over my privacy, and I don't think sharing where I went on vacation affects that. But I still feel a little about it, so I'm not going to be too descriptive about some things, like names and stuff, but I'll still try and give you guys a good story to help you fall asleep. fall asleep, but maybe you want to stay up for the interesting bits. Yeah. So, so we flew out, and it was an overnight flight, and a baby was crying the entire time, so I didn't sleep, which is terrible. If that has happened to you, you know that it sucks. I know that it obviously sucks for the mother or whoever has the baby, but it really does suck when a baby is screaming next to you for many hours. But besides that, it was fine. We actually flew into Madrid, and then we had to get on another plane to go to Granada. And from there, we were picked up and driven to our first host place, where we'd be staying for 2 nights. Luckily, and also sort of unlucky, because it would have been nice to meet more actual Spanish people. A lot of the people we stayed with and met during this portion were from the UK, so they all spoke English. And so we didn't have to worry about communication at all, which was nice, I suppose. And they're all very, very nice. Everyone we met was extremely nice, extremely accommodating. It was honestly perfect. It was honestly perfect. And it was one of those riding tours where, so it was me and my sister, but then we didn't know if anyone else was going to be on the tour at the same time that we were. There was one other girl, and she was our age, and she had the same riding experience as us, and she was also very nice. So that was great, and we all got along very well. And I think that also was just kind of like the cherry on top of like, okay, everybody's nice, we've got a good group, no one here is crazy. We like where we're staying. So that made me feel really good, because I was kind of just letting things happen and we'll see how it turns out, and it turned out great. So the first night there, we just got settled in. They had a pool, and they were up in the Sierra Nevada area, like really in the south, and it was like 90 to 100 degrees every day, but everywhere there is very dry. It's a very dry heat, so I actually was able to tolerate it much better than I thought I would. Like right where I am now, it's really hot, and I'm almost more miserable where I am now than when I was in Spain, and it was even hotter because it was so dry, so I didn't like sweat constantly. But yeah, they had a pool, which was fantastic. So mostly just hung out and relaxed. They had two dogs. They were really cute. They were really cute. They also, a stray cat had just started showing up and hanging out with them, and they were sort of nursing it back to health and making it more friendly with humans. I was very determined to befriend the cat. It was really cute. It was so skinny. It was like honestly like this wide, but they were taking care of it, so it was good. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. I used to not understand cats at all, and then I got a cat, and now I'm like, I see you. I get what you want. I understand like when you're, for lack of a better word, like consenting to me petting you, because a lot of times I'd be like, oh, they're so mean. Why don't they want me to just rough them up like a dog? You gotta understand their body language. You gotta get their body language. So once I figured that out, then I was able to befriend a lot more cats this trip. There's a lot of cats. I saw a lot of cats. They're beautiful. And it made me very happy that they're just cats everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. Obviously, the best part about the trip, the second day, we went up. We got driven up, even further up in the mountains. Even further up the mountains. And we met our horses. And my horse's name was Pepe. Snappy, it's Pepe. Snappy, it's Pepe. He was this big bay, like a blood bay. He was very red. So he was brown and red and with black legs and a black nose and a black mane and a black tail. And he was really tall. And which I love a tall horse. I rode I had a lot of variety growing up where I rode like really small horses and also big ones. I guess I prefer bigger ones. It depends on what you're doing. Anyways, he was really sweet. He had a great personality. He was very curious, and he wasn't skittish at all. He was very brave. I believe he was a PRE. Yeah, he was like a very Andalusian horse, if you know what that is. It's hard to explain horse breeds. But anyways, I'll put pictures and stuff. So what we would do each day that we rode, we would get on the horses, tack them up, put the saddle on them, saddle, the bridle. We had saddlebags that we put water and lunch in, so we could have a little picnic in the middle of the day. And then we would ride them up into the mountains or go down into the valley. And it was exactly what I wanted. Like, it was what I wanted from the trip. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to go somewhere new. I wanted to experience like a different climate, which I definitely was doing. And obviously I wanted to ride horses, but I wanted the ride to be adventurous, to feel a little risky, a little adventurous, and it was. We mostly walked, but we would go up and down these really steep, rocky hills and slopes. And the way that the horses found their footing. Sometimes they would slip a little bit, but like they could navigate around this honestly really complex terrain, and all while obviously carrying our stuff. And it was hot, but they really, honestly, like probably one of the most athletic and best horses I've ever ridden, because of how smart he was, how brave he was. Horses are very skittish animals. So the fact that like cars would drive past and dogs would run out and bark at us, and people would drive past in their scooters or bikes, and the fact that he didn't freak out at all, like, it was a good horse. It was a very good horse, and he was gorgeous, obviously. And there were a few points where we would have to get off them and either lead them up a slope or lead them down. And those parts I was the most scared during those, because obviously the horses can move a lot faster than you. So I had to rather find my footing. Also, it wasn't easy. It was hard work. So I couldn't like take a breather necessarily. I had to just keep going, and I had to make sure that Pepe was far enough behind me that he was going to step on me, which he wouldn't do on purpose. But if he took a misstep or if he slipped, we could both go down. And these were very, again, steep. So lots of rocks that would like tumble as you were walking, tumble as you were walking, and then drop-offs on either side of the path. So my heart was beating out of my chest several times. But then, once you make it safely to the top or the bottom, like that rush of adrenaline was just... And we'd also go for little canters or gallops, on some windy trails. And that was so much fun. I love going fast like that. It was so good. And the horses clearly had fun. Like they would just, we had 2 different trail guides over a course of time there. And they would just look back in their saddle and they'd say, "You guys ready to canter now? Are you guys ready to canter?" If you don't know, that's... Okay, pause for info dump. Horses have 4 gaits, typically, unless they're like a special breed. Walk, which is a 4 rhythm pattern. Just think of like you're walking with your 2 front legs, but now add 2 more behind you. There's a trot. There's a 2-beat pattern. That's like, Then there's a canter, which is a 3-beat pattern, and one of the front hooves are always in front of the other one. So it's kind of like, this is hard to do. But when it's really fast, like it was, it gets kind of close to a gallop, which is another 4-beat pattern, and that's when all 4 hooves leave the ground. So like if you're seeing a horse racing, they're galloping. That's as fast as they go. So sometimes some of our canters, I think, might have been a gallop because of how fast we were flying. So that was just really fun. And it was dusty too, so like dust would be sweeping up in the wind, while we galloped through the mountains, and around trees, and flowers. And speaking of trees and flowers, let me find my notes because I think I wrote down what they were called. Where did I write this down? Okay. So there were a lot of these beautiful flowers that grew on these long stems, and they had these little yellow petals, and they were called sporadium or Spanish broom. I was definitely saying that wrong, going off of my memory earlier when I was trying to tell people about it. But anyways, Spanish broom is one of their like common names. And I thought they were beautiful. They were everywhere. They just added so much color to the landscape. And there are also these huge pink bushes with these pink flowers, and those are called oleanders. And also, of course, rows of olive trees. There were olive trees everywhere, and they're a really pretty tree. I think their leaves are really interesting. I like how they're like not super tall, and the olives were so good. Oh my gosh, I'm not even the biggest olive fan, and I was eating olives like you wouldn't believe, like just constantly popping them in my mouth. They were so good. We also saw a lot of junipers, like tall, skinny, kind of evergreen juniper trees. There was a lot of eucalyptus trees, which surprised me. They have very white, patchy bark. And I didn't know that they grew in the south of Spain. I know they're not native there, but they're cool. We saw not a ton of wildlife. I know that there's like some mountain goats up in the mountains, but we didn't see any, unfortunately, which not a huge surprise, especially because it was so hot. I feel like they were maybe even higher up than we were. We did get very high though. I think we rode most days maybe about 16, 17 miles. I don't know for sure. And I don't know our elevation difference or gain. That would have been cool to track. I feel like if I could piece them together based on the photos I took, but it would take a lot of work. Trust me, because we could see looking down where we had been, and it was very far. It's very far. Yeah, olive trees. And it was interesting, you know, the difference in the terrain from going up and down a mountain, and then also how close you were to water, because the water's pretty scarce there. But if whatever was growing near where the water rushed down the mountains. Has my ASMR been okay? I feel like I'm just talking. Sorry. But wherever the water was rushing down the mountains, there were lots of different trees. They were obviously more green, more lush. And then the further out you get a lot of succulents. There were like these little succulent plants, and then they would have like one tall one, and then like a little like lime green succulent at the top. So there was just like these little green dots all over the land. And then there were also these huge, like gigantic aloe plants. I didn't know they could get that big. It was like a monster, like bursting out of the ground with these huge tentacles. It was crazy. But yeah, in terms of wildlife, we only saw like a pheasant and her little like baby chicks following behind her. She like ran and hid after we walked past with our horses. And we saw a snake. We saw a really big snake. It was turquoise. I should look up what it's called. It was like turquoise, like green and blue ombre on its scales. So it was this beautiful snake. And I do love snakes, but seeing one so close to us on the trail, I was like, I don't know what your deal is. Like, don't scare the horses. Please don't make them freak out. And you just stay in your lane. It just watched us as we walked past. So that was kind of crazy. We saw a waterfall. We hiked up really far to go see one in the distance. That was really impressive. I feel like a lot of places you go, there's waterfalls everywhere. So it was fun to like have to actively like go seek it out in such a dry place. But yeah, we stayed at 2 different places. Both had a pool. Both people there were super nice. They made us really, really good dishes. The first place we stayed at, the guy used to be a chef, I think. So his meals were so good. He made apple, olive oil, and lemon cake. It was just so moist with some ice cream. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Just lots of healthy like stews and lentils. I don't think we really got like a lot of Spanish food. I don't even really know what that would be, truthfully. I just was like, I'll eat whatever. As long as it's vegetarian, I'll eat whatever. I'll eat whatever. So after we rode for 4 days, which was a good time. And we would ride for like 6 hours and take like a half hour, 45-minute break to eat lunch. We would ride up to the lunch spot, we would get off, we would tie the horses to a tree, we would untack them, we would take off all their, bridles and saddles and stuff. Which, by the way, the ASMR around horses, I think I'm going to make an ASMR video with some videos I took. But just like the leather and the buckles and the sound of their fur and the hooves clapping. It's just so satisfying to me. But yeah, we would stop and we would have lunch. And one spot, we had lunch, we were up in the mountains, and a cat came out to greet us. And apparently, anytime they ride up there, the cat comes and tries to see if anyone has food. So I gave her a little piece of my sandwich, a little piece of my sandwich. She was very, very beautiful. Yeah, we rode for 4 days. It was great. It was perfect. It was, like I said, a little nerve-wracking. But it was so good to be around horses again. And when it was done, I was really sad. I was really heartbroken. I didn't expect to be so bummed out about it being over. I was really bummed out. But my sister and I still had a little bit more trip to go. So we actually went back to Granada. Went back to Granada. And we did some touristy things there. We did a flamenco dinner, which is the dance that they do, where they've got the women have like really the dresses are very form-fitting, and at the bottom they like flare out, so when they're spinning around they can like lift them up, and one of the dancers danced with a shawl, which is really cool. I'd never seen before. And I don't know if their shoes are tap shoes, but it's kind of like tap in a way. Like they do just a lot of like very fancy, loud, rhythmic footwork, which I adore. Like it was so cool. And they had a singer and a guitarist. It was so amazing. We were in the front row too. And then we just got served dinner, like 3 courses while they were performing, and had wine. It was great. It was really, I just love watching other cultures, and I love dance too. I'm not a dancer, but I love watching other people dance. Then the next day we went to Alhambra, which is the palace fortress located in Granada. It's very famous, and it is stunning. But it's just so much history and Islamic architecture, which I had never really seen before, and it is so beautiful and detailed and unique. And there were like these mosaic tiles everywhere, and first of all, I thought there would be signs around so I could learn while I was there, because I didn't book a tour guide, and unfortunately there weren't, which I understand that it kind of makes it feel more like you're like living in it. But I couldn't really appreciate like everything that I was looking at because I didn't know the facts about it. Oops, I'll have to read more about it on my time, on my own time. But it was so cool. It like there like the archways, they were very, gosh, I don't know enough about architecture to like properly define. There's just like these very slopey patterns that kind of reminded me of stalagmites. Kind of. It kind of reminded me of like a cave. It was very interesting, and a lot of like woodworking, and the walls were just these beautiful like orange not brick. Oh, see, this is what I mean. I want to describe it. I want to paint a picture, but I can't because I don't know. I don't know the things. I don't know the materials. Anyways, it was beautiful. It has a lot of history. And I'm not the best to speak on that because I don't retain facts well. You know what I mean? Like some people are like, oh, this was from this time period, and this is who the person ruled, and this was the group of people, and this is where they're from, and this is what this thing is called. And I like forget the names, so I feel dumb, and I don't want to say anything wrong. Anyways, it's really interesting. I've read about it before. I just am like really doubting myself right now to properly give information without being incorrect. we went to, it's a very touristy city, so you know you have all these vendors that sell kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And you're like, wasn't I just here? Didn't I just see that thing? So I knew that if I found an antique store, I'd have a better chance at finding something I actually wanted. And so luckily, we found one. It was really, really, really cool. There was an older guy there working the desk, and there was no one else in the store. And his English was so-so, but my Spanish is nothing, so. But he started talking to us, and he kind of explained some of the things that he had there, part of his collection. This all started because I was looking at this box of tools. There was like a hand crank, and then there were like screws, kind of. One had like a serrated edge, one kind of looked like the top of a screwdriver. And I didn't know what it was. And he came over and he was like, oh, that's for when they used to do brain surgery back in the day. So they had a hand crank and they would just drill people open, I suppose. Terrifying. Honestly, so disgusting. But I was really fascinated by it. And he had 2 horse figurines, which is what I really wanted. One of them was 120 euros, which I just could not afford, unfortunately. But it was really cute. It was like this little mini amulet, I think he said was from Chad, Africa. And I really wanted it, but it was too much. It was too expensive. But then I saw this. It was a lot cheaper. See it? It kind of reminded me of Pepe, even though he didn't have all this fluff at the top. And it's like some sort of, I think, iron. It's very heavy. It's very old. I'm so worried about breaking it. It would make me so sad. If I broke it. But isn't it amazing? Like, I don't know how to properly show you. Like, look at the armor. It's missing its rider. I don't know if it used to have a rider or if it never did, but I think he said it was from the late 18th century to early 19th century, I believe is what he said. I'm gonna try and do some more research on it. I also took some rocks from the mountains, like where we stopped to get lunch one day. This was the first one. You see how it's like red? But it's very soft. I was struggling to find a rock that wouldn't just like crumble and fall apart. See all these layers? I don't know, I'm not a geologist, so again, I can't really speak to the rock facts. But I thought it was really pretty. It really captured like that red that we kept riding up. And then I also got this one. Pretty good rocks, right? Again, just like super, I can just feel how fragile it is. Like how easily I could probably take off chunks. So I'm being very gentle with it. But I liked the shape. So, yeah, that kind of a showcase of like what the terrain was like. I guess that's kind of the gist, like the most of it. I was disappointed that I couldn't like wander into cathedrals, like when I was in France. They're all just kind of open to the public and you can just go in whenever you want. And I think it's partially because it was a holiday, a lot of them are closed. And then a lot of them you needed tickets to go in for, which I have mixed feelings about, but I just unfortunately didn't go and look in any of the cathedrals, which would have been really, really cool. I felt like this was just more of like a adventurous, outdoorsy vacation than art appreciation cultural vacation, which is fine, I think, right? You can always go back. You can kind of see the tan. Not really. It's really bad, like comparing. Well, yeah, you can kind of see. Yeah, like this is my normal color. This is from being out on a trail for hours, multiple days in a row. That's just crazy. I got a bad farmer's tan, as to be expected. I wore a helmet, of course. I wore sunscreen, but I probably didn't reapply it as often as I should have. Ate a lot of good food. Had some wine. Vino Blanco. And I do want to keep learning Spanish even though my trip's over. So I'll get back on that. I wish I could speak other languages fluently. I did run into a French woman there. And I don't know if originally she was asking me a question and then she ended up telling me something. Or like trying to help me because I was looking for directions. And she must have approached me because I looked confused. But I spoke French with her. So it was funny to speak French in Spain. Because that actually is a language that I kind of know. Enough to get through a conversation. So. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. I miss my cat. I miss my partner. It's fun to hang out with my sister. I feel like we haven't hung out much after like being adults and graduating, so it's interesting. If you have siblings, you know. But it went well. She had a great time too. So anyways, happy Pride. I'll probably do a positive affirmations video for Pride, but if there's anything that you want included in that, anything at all, just comment below. Let me know. Missed you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Shit's scary right now, so I understand. But just peace and love to everybody. I genuinely hope wherever you are, wherever you're from, that you're doing well, that you're taking care of yourself, that you're taking care of your community. Breathe deep. Send love with every breath. That's all we can really do. But hang in there. Alright. Thanks for listening to me ramble. It was great. I would 100% do it again. If you're a good rider, I recommend it. If you're not an experienced rider, not for you. But there's definitely other things like it out there. Alright, sorry. Have a good night. Have a good day. Wherever you are.